So today is the 17th of February. I did not record on the 18th of last month. I was not doing great. I'm still not doing amazing, but I just have been extremely busy and dealing with a lot of stuff. I finally did start electrolysis again. I am paying for it out of pocket, which sucks. But the new electrolysis lady basically confirmed my worst fears that the other place, it wasn't just that they were inept, but that they were intentionally going slow so that they could milk insurance. And basically, she has done so much more on my arm in just a teeny tiny amount of time than they ever did ever. She is doing a little bit harsher of a job, as it were, to get it done faster because she felt so guilty that they had done that. She said there's no way in like the world that it should have been a year and a half and they got as little done as they did. She said that's beyond her wildest imaginings. I had been on a waiting list for her for a very long time, like a year and a half or something, and she was getting ready to start thinking about lowering her clientele, and so that's part of why. And she came extremely like amazing good reviews. She's got, almost 30 years of experience, and it turns out, yeah, she's super good, but it does suck. I have to pay for it out of pocket. It is expensive, but I need it. Of course, I finally start making progress with it, and she's confirmed it's basically impossible that it won't be done within a year. She thinks significantly less than a year. She said that I have almost no regrowth, especially on the side that they had already worked on some. So that's something. They at least did do something of some kind. But yeah, it was all just a ploy. And that's so frustrating. Like it's just, what do you do? I don't even know. What do you do? It's just stress, man, just stress. So that sucks, but also at least I'm getting electrolysis from someone who doesn't suck. It just sucks that I have to pay for it out of pocket. But again, she's doing a super good job as far as I can tell. My arm, like the wraparound on it, I hope you could see. Um, it's just night and day in comparison, and it doesn't actually hurt, but it does have these like little red bumpies that swell up, but they're not painful. So they go away. She calls it scabbing, but it goes away. It's not permanent at all. And my regrowth is super low, and of course all of this happens after new administration comes into power. And I couldn't record on the 18th. I thought about trying to record on January 22nd, but I was already so devastated, I just couldn't. And of course, almost immediately after that, I got into electrolysis with this woman, and she's awesome, but it's like, it wasn't good enough news to make up for all of the other crap, and it's just been piling and piling. The end of the Biden administration ended with something that pretty much no one talked about. That was a giant health report on intersex people. And for the first time in the entire history of the United States of America, legally, intersex people were recognized as human beings. What? Amazing. Like, how? Has it been this long that people who just happen to be born different aren't recognized as existing? But there it was. We exist, and also we have horrible ramifications from surgical procedures done to us, and also our mental health, physical health, like everything is like terrible because of things that get done to us, and it's not acceptable. And it was this big, huge, giant deal. Came out on January 16th. On January 20th, it was immediately revoked, taken down, and possibly even destroyed. I don't know. It was like 4 days. For 4 days, intersex people existed legally. And when you're born intersex, it's not a disease. It's not meant to be that you become disabled, although some people, the surgery is so freaking botched that's done to them that it's caused lifelong chronic issues. It's studied enough, although unfortunately hardly studied at all, that essentially there's an understanding that the majority of the time, most intersex traits and telltale signs don't occur until puberty. And yet, the decision about whether to surgically alter them so that society can be more comfortable happens when they're a baby. There's ridiculous amounts of suffering that happen for intersex people that this is done to, including me, but not limited to me. And it's frustrating. For 4 days, it was legally recognized that intersex people actually exist, even though intersex people, people born with characteristics of both male and female sexes, have been occurring for all of human history. Like, we've been in existence in recorded human history all the way back to like ancient documents from even like Greece and stuff. We're not fake. It's medically recognized, but legally, we weren't nothing. And for 4 days, it was there, and then it was just gone again. On top of that, all trans, intersex, and non-binary folks, he wants to make it not just so that they can't get new documents going forward that say their correct designation for their gender, but also to revoke any documents that have already been made that they had their gender on. The current ploy for that is to just force things back to whatever the birth certificate says, but some people already either changed or are currently desperately trying to, as quickly as possible, change their birth certificates. Again, eventually the goal is to force it to, if the birth certificate ever had any change, to force it all the way back. Thankfully, changes currently are not applying to names so much, unless you had some sort of high military clearance. But I know a person who was a veteran, who was in the military, who had very high clearance, and she's trans woman. Her documents have been scrubbed, and she can't even file taxes. She knows 2 other people whose IDs got taken from them when they went to deploy internationally. So, unfortunately, that sucks. I had to talk to a lawyer to make sure that I can travel for going to conferences and stuff, and he's like, oh, you already have an enhanced driver's license. That's a state-issued ID, so you should be fine. I'm not sure what's going to happen when that expires, or if I try to travel internationally. But I know when I went to fill out my FOSFA, because I'm a college student, that my information had not changed yet. So I thankfully did that. I have not attempted to file taxes yet. My documents, I had to fight tooth and nail to get mine changed because I was born in an extremely conservative state, and my birth certificate still says amended everywhere, because legally they wouldn't change my birth certificate all the way. They would only change it to amended. So the lawyer unfortunately did not know about my birth certificate, if that would be good enough, and he was concerned that it might not be. So that sucks. And I was born in this country, but that doesn't mean I have the rights of citizenship, like, because I was born different. And I was on Medicaid, and now all of my healthcare is considered gender affirming care. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of hormones, because I don't generate enough hormones to be healthy on my own. And I couldn't even before surgeries. But since surgeries, I mean, it's pretty much like I, by both sex and gender, am male, because all the female parts have been removed, but it doesn't matter. I still can't produce enough hormones by myself. And I can go back to being sick and very slowly dying because I won't have hormones. And so thankfully the state I'm in is trying to create a fund to help people like me, but I don't know how long it's going to take. And when I run out, I don't know what I'm going to do. I gotta figure it out, and I won't die instantly. It's a very slow, long, painful way to die. My bones, which have been making such progress with density build up, it's all gonna start deteriorating, and I'll go back to like having numb limbs and passing out all the time, and having nosebleeds all the time, and having my bones just like get more and more brittle, and my teeth start shattering inside of my mouth again because I don't naturally produce enough testosterone, and all of that will take a long time. It'll take several years, but it took years to get this much better. My health was actually doing so much better, and of course, I'll also have to deal with going back to the suicidal ideation and the sheer volume of depression that comes with that, and it's bad. So my health, my existence, my legal existence already, but my existence period is being threatened, and my documents that I worked so hard for are all. I got this passport last summer because my professor told me to, and I was going to use it for the first time this summer, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. Don't know, because if your document doesn't match what's on their computer screen, it doesn't matter what your story is, it doesn't matter the reasons why, they've got a problem with it. Your documents don't show you as you. And if you're not identifiable as you, there's a problem. My conference that I'm going to speak at, my professor, she was like, if they don't let you on the airplane for some reason, I'll be there and I'll open my laptop and put you on Zoom, and you're still going to do your presentation. Screw what they say. Because I just happen to have written about intersex issues on this report already. I made a research paper. It was extremely difficult to write about intersex issues and epistemic agency and AI and perpetuation of misinformation and how it can be harmful, and used intersex issues as an example. I happen to have already been accepted to go speak about this. I already happened to be on a stage, and I said, look, this wasn't in my paper, but can I add this to my presentation? And she said, as long as you don't make it personal and you say this is happening, not this happened to me, so that it stays scholarly, go for it. So yeah, that's a thing that's gonna happen, is I'm gonna go stand on stage and basically speak about it. And obviously I'm still, for the majority of the presentation, going to reference my paper I wrote, but there's a section of my presentation that is reflective of current issues, because I have, people I know who are stressed about deportation. Some of them are refugees, some of them are, other things, but they're like, one of them literally told me, my situation's less bad than yours, even though I have to hide, even though I can't work, because if I get caught, I'll just get sent to another country, and at least I have some sort of recourse there. You don't have anywhere else to go. This is your country, and your country is treating you this way, and you don't have another country to go to. You have nowhere. And somehow that was horrifying to them beyond what's happening to them. And what's happening to them is scary. So that was a lot. I can't see my doctor. I can't see my surgeon. Here I'm finally making progress toward the surgery, and I have no recourse to actually get the surgery because my Medicaid is in the trash, and I'm working 3 jobs. I'm a full-time student, submitting papers to publishing and to speaking at conferences. I'm like, a full-time student is 3 classes at one college, and then I'm auditing a class at another college every quarter. I'm a president of a club. We host events, and a bunch of them have to do with social justice, and a bunch of our sponsors for one of our biggest events in a year just pulled out because it's about social equity. And There's a lot of sponsors who are scared of losing federal funding for using certain words like equity and diversity and so on. There's a lot of concern about certain words being used in literature, and thankfully the conference took a stance and said, we don't care if there's a list of words that are not allowed to be used in academic writing. We already had this conference going. We're not changing it because intersex is one of the words that's not allowed to be used in academic writing. And there's just a lot, like a lot. And I'm trying to get through it. And so I apologize that I went from recording pretty consistently every month to having to skip a little bit in the last half a year because of trying to keep my mental health from just going completely down the toilet. But it's not easy to talk about this shit, and it's not easy to live through this, and people don't seem to understand. I have multiple siblings, and I've been disowned by a lot of people that I'm related to. Unfortunately, almost everyone. And one of my siblings who hasn't disowned me was talking to another one who basically had, and they were like, "Oh, this administration gives me so much hope. They're going to drain the swamp. Things are going to change for the better. It's going to be so great." And then he talked to me in the same day, and I'm like, "Yeah, like 6 months from now, I might start dying. It'll be really slow, but yeah, it's a thing I have to deal with now." And I lost all my funding, like all of it almost completely for my schooling. I used to have a full ride all the way through my bachelor's, and now they're gonna finish my associates with one program, but I was in three. And I lost all my scholarships except one, and it only goes through my associates. And then I have zero funding for my bachelor's now. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. And I got accepted into the bachelor's program, so yay me, but what am I gonna do with that? I don't know. And it sucks. It sucks real bad. I I don't know what to do except to just wing it and keep trying things. And when I first told my professor, who's my hero, that I might not be able to go to the conference if they fully revoke all my documents to the point where I can't travel, she seemed upset a little bit about it. Was like, "I'm sorry this is happening to you. I'm so sad on your behalf. I'm so angry on your behalf. But we're gonna keep acting like something good's gonna happen until it's not. Until we don't have any other recourse." And so I've been trying to hold on to that. I've been trying to just cling to that. I didn't ask to be born different. I just happened to be born different. And as much as I support all trans and non-binary people and their rights, like absolutely, it's horrifying what's happening to them too. This isn't a gender identity. I was literally just born. And the doctor made the wrong decision when I was born and turned me into something I wasn't. That's not my fault. But I have had to deal with a lifetime of repercussions from that. And this current administration just really wants to exasperate that exponentially. I'm not a bad person. I try my very best to actually be a good person. But man, life sure has hammered the crap out of me. And other human beings are treating me like crap. Other human beings have attempted to murder me before because of how I exist. Like, I don't even know what to do about this except do what she said and just keep acting like something good could happen. I just keep working and working and working and working because that's what she said to do. And that's all I know to do. I am a draft horse. That is all I've done my entire life. That's how I survived my entire life. And that's what I will keep trying to do. But it sucks. I keep I keep wondering, when will life get better? Like, life doesn't seem like it's supposed to be this hard. It just seems super unfair. And I don't understand why I don't get to be considered human when I'm trying so hard to help make the world a better place. I thankfully live in a state where there's some protection, but what about the intersex people who don't live in a state where there's some protection? Like, if it's this bad for me, and I live in one of the most liberal areas in the country, like, what about the poor people who are living somewhere extremely conservative? There was a news article recently of some folks who captured a trans guy who was from Minnesota, and they tortured him, brutalized him, beat the crap out of him until finally he died from it, and they threw his body in a field just because he existed. And I just can't help but wonder how much more of that there's going to be. Like, just by Trans Day of Remembrance last year, it was over 400 people that had been murdered in the year, just literally for existing. And I wonder how much worse it's going to be this year with a exclusionary administration encouraging people to do extreme things. And I wonder about all these legal cases confronting them, and they're doing so many things that some things are slipping through. I haven't seen any legal cases coming up against them about changing documents or requiring that Medicaid no longer cover gender affirming care. I haven't seen that, and maybe it exists and I just haven't seen it, but it sucks because so far the administration has not won a single legal thing that it has been presented with in court. Unfortunately, they're getting away with a lot of other stuff and super corrupt things, like Department of Justice forcing a bunch of people to resign rather than let someone off the hook when there's a mountain of evidence that they're deserved to go to jail. And it's their own Republican people too. Um, what's going to happen when there's no one left who can resign? What's going to happen when it's all just people who will follow? I don't have another country to go to. I have a friend who's a refugee from a war torn country, and her health, she has to get like blood transfusions every month and stuff. And we were joking. I was saying, you need to marry someone here so you don't get deported, because if she ends up back in her country, she's dead. Like, within a month, she needs to be able to get out of that country to some other country where she can get health care. And she is joking, you need to marry someone from another country so you can get out of this one. Yeah. If only it was that easy. I don't know what to do except to just carry on. Keep working like something good's gonna happen until it doesn't. It took a long time to get this electrolysis, and yes, I have to pay for it out of pocket. But technically, I found a way. I don't know how I'm going to find a way to get surgery. Surgery is so much more expensive. And I need every penny to try to get my bachelor's, like I'm stuck. I'm trapped financially at this point. 3 jobs is not covering stuff. They're all part-time. I don't have healthcare through any of them because healthcare in this country just sucks in general. But I've got to figure something out, and that's what I do. I figure something out. I will just keep trying to figure something out. But it sure is not easy. And I don't know what else to say other than that. It's just not easy. But I'm going to go stand on a stage and I'm going to tell people is there anything I can say? Is there any data I can give you that could make you truly grieve for intersex people? Not just one intersex person, but experience grief for intersex people. And if not, what does that say about how compromised your agency already is? That you can't do something so human for other humans. That they've been put into a box from the sheer volume of misinformation you've been handed that says, oh yeah, these people, their suffering, their deaths, their pain, their injustice, it's not worth grieving. I don't know what's going to happen when I say that, but that's what I'm going to say. And I will try to make sure and record next month. I again apologize that I didn't last month, but the world's been a lot. So, yeah. And I know I'm not the only one. This administration is hurting a lot of people. It's not just me. But it's been a lot. It's been a lot for sure. And if you happen to be someone that this administration is harming, if you're happening to go through a hard time right now and you're wondering why does life have to be this hard? I hope my professor's words can help you too. Keep working like something good's going to happen until it doesn't. Because if something good does happen, at least you'll be prepared for it. And if it doesn't happen, it wasn't going to happen anyway. So keep going until there's literally no option left. And I will be right there doing the exact same thing. And even if we don't know each other, and even if we never ever meet each other or anything, I hope there's some sort of solidarity in that. We might be fighting in different trenches, but we're old war buddies. Hopefully, we're not in it alone.